Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Nico Jean. And before we get started, I want to remind you to subscribe to this channel. Also, go ahead and hit that like button and click the little bell so you can get notifications when I put up new videos. So today we're going to talk about the reason why your inner child is stopping you from setting, maintaining, and feeling good about your boundaries with others. Whether they are a boundary with an emotionally safe person in your life, friend, a family member, all the way to a really toxic, possibly narcissistic individual that is very difficult to set boundaries with. And what I'm going to tell you is that it actually doesn't really matter where on the spectrum you are, whether it's like way at the end of like with the emotionally safe friend, all the way to the really toxic, scary person. That the reason why your inner child is giving you problems around this is the same, no matter who it is or what the spectrum is. Because if you think about the inner child as an actual child, okay, so I want to kind of pre-frame this a little bit. Think about children, your own children, or children you know, or what you know about children. And think about how it is in their world. When you're a child, you're completely dependent on your parents and your caregivers in order to be safe, right? In order to literally, be fed and clothed and be safe physically, mentally, and emotionally. And when you think about the survival of our species, right, you probably already know that there is a chemical factor that actually allows us to continue to survive. When a mammal has a baby, there's a chemical factor, there's oxytocin and other hormones that create a really strong bond between the mother and a child. And this is what helps this mother do the difficult job of, keeping this baby alive and nourishing it, nurturing it so it can grow up and it can survive, basically. And of course, many mothers go way beyond just helping their children survive, but that's the basic biology of it. So if you think about a child having like a deep primal instinct around needing to survive, just like we all do, our body has an instinct, and being dependent on caregivers and parents to be able to survive, then I want you to think about what happens when that parent or caregiver is upset with the child. Imagine a child, and then somebody who is taking care of them is upset or mad, even if it's just a mild irritation, all the way to like, a really abusive rage. Okay, again, there's a spectrum, but it doesn't matter to the child, because either way, there's a primal sense that this is a danger to my survival when the person that takes care of me and makes sure that I get to eat and have a safe place to sleep is upset with me or not pleased with me in some way. Now, let's go back to the issue of boundaries. So I'm sure you already know that when it comes to setting boundaries, the reason why you have difficulty setting them, maintaining them, and feeling good about them, because there's like 3 levels, is because you're worried someone might get upset with you, right? You don't want them to be mad. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to upset them. You don't want to seem needy or selfish. I mean, there's so many mental reasons. There's so many cognitive reasons. But essentially what it all comes down to at the core is that you don't want that person to get upset with you. Whatever their reaction might be, whether it's an extreme physical reaction or just a mild irritation or an emotional upset, that part of you, that wounded inner child that's still getting triggered by the childhood trauma in the present moment, is the one that is having trouble setting the boundary because they don't want to die. It's like, just think about this. Like, in order to survive as a child, you really need to be lovable, right? Because think about if you have your own kids, right? They can be a real handful, but you love them. So children have this sense of like, if people are upset with me, then that means I'm unlovable. Again, it's a very primal sense. And being unlovable could lead to me not being able to survive. So I'm telling you this because I want you to have some compassion for this part of yourself. I'm inviting you to have empathy and compassion especially if you're getting frustrated with yourself around this issue. Like, why can't I just say no or set a simple boundary? Or why do I keep going back on what I say? This is another thing, like not just setting boundaries, but maintaining them, maintaining the boundaries, whether it's because you're getting uncomfortable with the boundary, it's not anyone else, but it's you, or it's somebody else pushing back at your boundary and then you cave, right? You cave. Or it's actually setting a boundary, maybe you're maintaining it, but internally you feel like crap. You feel terrible, you feel guilt and shame. And that's not a healthy way to feel about it. So yeah, there are these levels: setting a boundary, maintaining a boundary, and then feeling good about it. This takes time. Okay, you can't just all of a sudden, be good at this if you're already really bad at it. Like, I don't want to say bad, it's not a judgment, but like if your inner child has a lifetime of a pattern of making this difficult for you because of what they went through, then it's not going to be an overnight fix. So you got to really have some empathy for your inner child. You've got to do the inner child work, reparenting the inner child. You've got to do the work for your inner adult, meaning you've got to stay coherent using tools and techniques like EFT tapping, energy psychology, meditation, other somatic things you might use, keeping your brain coherent, keeping your heart and mind aligned, staying in the present moment, and then being able to deal with triggers with awareness of where they're coming from, right? So you guys, listen, I've got this really awesome event coming up in my mastermind. I'm having an open house, and I created a special event for the members and all the guests, all of you that aren't already members. It's called the Boundaries Lab Live, and we're going to be actually talking about this exact thing in this event. So I'm going to have the description below for you to enroll in this free event. Come and attend if you want to know more about this boundary stuff and how your inner child's stopping you and what you can do about it. I would love to have you there. So in the meantime, just remember, have empathy for your inner child. Create some awareness around what's happening when you feel a trigger around a boundary, whether it's I can't say no, or whether it's I'm going to go back on saying no, or whether it's I feel shame around saying no. There's this space in between, like when the trigger happens, okay, here it is, and then like your response to it. And typically, if there's not a lot of space in between there, meaning there's not a lot of awareness, it's difficult to change your response. But if you can open the space up a little more, by awareness, by breathing, by just pausing, tapping, meditating, whatever that is for you, get this space open wider and wider and wider. And inside this space, that's where you have the power. You can be empowered to talk with and dialogue with your inner child in a moment instead of going straight to the inner child's reaction. And that's what feels frustrating, because you feel like you have no control. But we've got to get inside this space there and talk with the inner child in dialogue and find out why. Why do you feel this way? What's going on? I'm so sorry. I know, you have to have empathy. If you go into this space with like, what's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? If you're like, what is wrong with you? I'm so tired of this. Is that the way you really want to talk to your inner child? Is that the way you would want to be spoken to as a child? So I'm again bringing this awareness to you, like, be really aware of how you're speaking to your inner child around this. Be patient, be understanding, have unconditional love for this part of you, just like you want to have from everyone else, right? This is something we have to do for ourselves. Nobody's going to come to your rescue and do this for you. And you know that by now. You have to do this work yourself. And believe me, it is worth it. And it can be really fun and joyful. It doesn't have to be hard or heavy or intense. It can actually be really joyful and gentle. So I hope this has helped you today, and I'd love to see your comments below. Again, if you love this channel, hopefully you love this channel, or even if you just like it, subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the notifications. The more likes and the more subscriptions I get on this channel, the more YouTube will show it to people, and we can get this really important information out to more and more people. We're changing the world one inner child at a time. All right, until next time, everybody, may you be at ease and know joy.